You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus. Imagination, fiction, and the like are commonly thought to be clearly separated from reality and fact. This is usually a good assumption, yet upon closer examination, the situation is more problematic. There are many situations where they are blended. Myth is often defined as truth expressed fictionally. ESP and PK call into question the sharp demarcation of mind, imagination, and matter, reality. In deception, fact and fiction are often mixed. There are a number of other circumstances with similar blurring, and it makes sense to explore them for commonalities. This is a speculative chapter, and the ideas are not fully developed. I hope to point directions for future elaboration. George P. Hansen, The Trickster and the Paranormal, that's chapter 24 about imagination. Let's skip ahead towards the end of the chapter for some closing thoughts, because I think it's important to, it's not important necessarily, but it does tie into what I believe we're going to be discussing today on the program. This is the summary. This chapter has discussed diverse views on the imagination, from primate behavior to religion to fiction. Perhaps some readers will find little cohesion in the mixture, but there has been one central concern: the blurring of imagination and reality, of representation and object, of signifier and signified, and conversely, how each aspect within a pair of opposites is made distinct. The betwixt and between area is the trickster's realm. This domain is inherently nebulous, ambiguous, and somewhat chaotic. Those who fail to recognize this essential characteristic are doomed to misunderstand the fundamental issues. Paranormal experiences often involve the imagination. They are also frequently associated with deception. The paranormal and deception are two constituents of the trickster constellation, and this suggests that the imagination shares some of its properties. There is another component of the trickster constellation: sexuality. I have not addressed the sexual imagination, but it is a powerful force. So here we have the trickster elements of deception, sex, and psi, which are all closely associated with the imagination. There are deep evolutionary connections among mental representation, imagination, awareness, simulation, pretending, and deceit. These cannot be fully explained by the evolution of primate behavior, but that body of work should not be overlooked when contemplating the matters. Although the imagination has a marginal status, it is too powerful to be ignored. Massive industries are devoted to fiction, and they serve to stimulate, but also to satisfy the imagination. Horror fiction and other genres incorporating paranormal themes are exceedingly popular. They frighten us, but ultimately we know them to be untrue. Their explicit fictionality serves to reinforce the boundary between imagination and reality. All this has implications for understanding psychic phenomena. Psi blurs the distinction between imagination and reality. The same blurring is found with pretense, the playful, and deception. In most situations, society needs clear distinctions. Pretense and the playful have their place, but they must be limited. So too must psi. The next chapter, as you could imagine, would be on paranoia. Welcome to the program. This is Ryan Singer. If you're new to the show, this is a third-year bonus. This is a solo episode. I have literally no idea. I could just say I have no idea where this episode may wind where it may traverse, where it ends up. These are kind of stream of consciousness. Usually I have an idea of something I want to, sorry, that was my computer. It wasn't plugged in that whole time. Something I want to discuss and something I want to get into. We do want to recap my view on, or just some things I thought were interesting in the UAP hearing in Congress that wrapped up over, I guess, at the end of last week. Is it already Thursday of this week, or wrapped up at the beginning of this week? I mean, it's just, what is time? What is time? I have a buddy who would extrapolate on that, an astrophilosophist. Any hoodles. Moving on. The one big takeaway I had, and I've had some really fun, interesting, fascinating conversations the last few days with new friends and old about UFOs and UAPs. As you know, I love ufology. I don't necessarily love UApology as much. That's just I gotta take a dig at UAP every time I can, just because the origins of the word, as we all know, where they came from. We talk about it all the time on here. So anyhow, let's get back to it. Immaculate collection, I believe, and I've got the PDF. It's 214 pages. I have it right here on my desktop. So I'm gonna bring that up here. I don't need this. I have, if you're anything like me, you have 7,000 things on your desktop. It is a problem. It needs to not be the way I go about doing things. What I have here is the public testimony by Michael Shellenburger to the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation, and the Subcommittee on National Security, the Border, and Foreign Affairs of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee for a hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena exposing the truth, November 13th, in the year of Odin, 2023. So, this is Shellenburger. Shellenburger is an interesting character. I believe he's a professor, maybe at a university in Austin, Texas, maybe at University of Texas. He's also kind of an anti-climate change guy. Anti-climate change might be strong language for this guy, but he kind of fights against the views of climate change. I have to go further into this to really try to understand where he's coming from on a lot of this stuff. He is a professor, a journalist. I don't think he is a scientist. That doesn't mean that he doesn't read. And I was actually just looking at something called there's some company called Autodidactory or something. Anyway, I guess it's that's actually different than a polymath. But I'm thinking of autodidact. What the fuck is an autodidact? Why am I? I've got too many words going around in the brain. And if you listen to the program, that's a problem because I struggle with few words, let alone too many. But luckily, I have the dictionary.com app on autodidactic. Let's look it up just to have a refresher. Relating to or being a person who learns or has learned a subject without the benefit of a teacher or formal education. So I was correct. It is self-taught. So that would be so potentially maybe he's autodidactic in some of these other areas where it wasn't his area of focus as a 19-year-old. Isn't that funny? We just let people be experts for the entirety of their lives and things they studied when they were 20, 21 years old. I don't know about you, but a lot of things were going into my face when I was that age. When I was in college, I was putting lots of things into my face. Very few of those things were books. They were plays and, scripts and things like that because I was a theater major, so you don't really have to do the traditional heavy lifting that other students may. But then to get a master's degree and to get a PhD, potentially, that's a whole another can of worms. Polymath, a person of great learning in several fields. So you could be an autodidactic polymath. And I think that's who we embrace. over here on the show. And I'm not saying that I'm an autodidactic polymath in ADP. In ADPM? Dude, AM, PM, ADPM? Okay, we don't have to keep trying to do word plays, acronyms, but it is the government. They love acronyms. I love acronyms. I'm not going to let the government ruin my love of acronyms. Anyway, the name of this, I'm just going to do a quick search, find a Command F, and we're going to cite Immaculate Constellation is the name. I thought it was Immaculate Collection, which, in my opinion, it should have been called Immaculate Collection because it's about a UFO retrieval program. You're collecting the parts, and it also closer to conception, which many religions have used as one of the main themes of like bestowing deity upon like a half human or a hybrid type person. Anyway, that's what Jesus was. Jesus was a hybrid. Do we talk about that enough on this program? Okay, obviously that's the music. I have to take a quick break. We're gonna stop for some commercials. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month, no commercials ever. Wouldn't that be a joy? Come find joy over at patreon.com. And we shall return. We shall return. Or we have returned. It doesn't matter. Past, present, future. None of it is real. Let's talk about the big disclosure that happened during the hearing, in my opinion. And again, my opinion is someone who's, I'm you know who I am. I'm a comedian who, is obsessed with this stuff. So, Immaculate Constellation. And right before we get to that part of the report, which is page 6 when it first shows up, which is pretty early in a 214-page testimony, Shellenburger writes, and now existing and former U.S. government officials have told members of Congress that AARO, A-A-R-O, that is the program that has replaced OSAP. And OSAP was the secret Pentagon UFO program that was running. It was mislabeled as ATIP in the 2017 New York Times article. ATIP was going to be the program in a new form if they were able to get funding, which they were not from the DoD. So the Pentagon program, OSAP, A-W-S-A-P, I believe. So now it's called AARO. And we'll get into some interesting details about that. So that's what AARO is. So, and now existing and former U.S. government officials have told members of Congress that AARO and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft. Now, I will rail on and on, or one of the characters that will emerge from the greater subconscious that somehow will have a Wi-Fi mic from an undisclosed bilocal location sometime will chime in, and they'll rail about things as well. But here's the point. We know that there's this grand database, right, that OSAP has developed. The greatest UFO/paranormal database in the history of humankind, potentially, right? And there was millions and millions of dollars that went into collecting and creating. And Lakatsky and Colm Kelleher, along with George Knapp, talk about that in the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, which I highly recommend to anybody because it's really about the paranormal, the paranormal cloud that kind of surfaces around UFO storms. So let's continue on. So it just says Immaculate Constellation in quotes. One of these individuals is a current or former U.S. government official acting as a UAP whistleblower. The person has written a report that says, quote, the executive branch has been managing UAP/NHI, non-human intelligence, NHI, that's what that is. Sorry, I had to go through my acronym dictionary here real quick. So the executive branch has been managing UAP NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades, end quote. Furthermore, these individuals have revealed the name of an active and highly secretive DoD, quote, unacknowledged Special Access Program, or USAP. See, this is where it gets really, it's almost like it's a farce, to a certain degree, right? Because you have OSAP and then you have USAP, right? What about MESAP? What about USAP? Oh, we did have USAP, OSAP. Oh, MESAP, USAP, OSAP, WESAP. It's so to try to keep track of them when they're speaking, a lot of these sound very similar. So, Unacknowledged Special Access Program, or USAP. The source of the document told public that the USAP is a strategic intelligence program that is part of the U.S. military's family of long-standing, highly sensitive programs dealing with various aspects of the UAP, quote, problem. The new UAP whistleblower claims that the U.S. military and IC database includes videos and images. I don't know what IC, Intelligence Committee, maybe? Database includes videos and images taken using, quote, infrared, IR, forward-looking infrared, FLIR, which we actually, next week we have a great interview coming out with my buddy Dan Butler, and we talk about FLIR a little bit from, basically heat signature type stuff. Okay, so also full motion video, FMV, and still photography. I didn't know that's what that was. Just a camera is called FMV. And still photography. End quote. The government whistleblower made their claims in a report provided to authorized committees of Congress and their staff. So these are official. They've been mated. They've been mated. Holy shit, they've been mated. I have lost. I am adding ED onto the end of past tense words. And someone who got a degree in English, I just got to tell you, I have mated it. I have mated it. When if we can get mated it into the dictionary, that's when, or maybe even the Urban Dictionary, that's when you'll know I have mated it indeed. The report shared with Congress says, quote, Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent USAP, Unacknowledged Special Access Program. Right? I was just talking about, yes, Unacknowledged Special Access Program that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. So what that tells me, what that last sentence, that's, you're putting your UFO report on the internet, and it's not an official government site. They're finding it potentially, right? If it has credence or if it has details that resonate, they're collecting that as maybe a story, right? Or as an instance, or as a potential occurrence, right? That's what, so tasked and untasked collection platforms, meaning things that they tried to, things that they have set out to do and set up to collect, and things that they weren't the ones who set up to collect. That's to me what it says. Now, we know about MUFON being co-opted by the federal government, or by OSAP, and all their UFO reports being folded in to the program, to OSAP. Whether or not MUFON told everybody that, I don't know. I've never been a member of MUFON. I have been a member of UPARS, which was UFO Paranormal Research Society, which formerly was MUFON LA. I joined after they broke off from MUFON because they didn't want to be a part of MUFON anymore, and started their own thing, UPARS, and that's when I joined. I'm not saying I joined because I'm waiting for them to break free from MUFON. It's just the timing of it happened to be as such. I came into awareness of UPARS, which no longer is really going out here in Los Angeles, by the way. I became aware of UPARS after they had broken free from MUFON. I don't think I'm better than MUFON. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. To be clear, I am not better than the Mutual UFO Network. No one's better than anybody else. Can we just get over? Hey, man, I've been saying that, man. Man, I've been saying it. Todd, you haven't been a big part of the show for a while. But, hey, man, I noticed that, and I'm happy just sitting back and letting it be, whatever it is, man. And, I got to say that you're a beacon of light and joy, Todd, and you're kind of a stereotypical hippie guy, but I got to tell you, I love that, and I think that's what I need a little bit more of in my life right now. I need more, Pixar movies, and I need more, more Todd. Hey, man, I'm here. I'm always here, man. And, I'll be a ufologist, man. I'll be a ufologist, man. I'll be a flying saucerist, man. It doesn't matter, man. It's It's just good to be here, man. We're in like we're in a flashpoint, man, of human history, and who knows what's gonna happen, man. If we did know, it wouldn't be as fun, man. Well, I mean, I guess you could say that, but in some situations, I would argue that fun might not be the word that we'd want to use. But hey, I'm not trying to censor you. You speak your tooth trod. You speak your tooth trod? Holy fucking shit, dude. I'm not going to lie. It's been one of those days. Find your words. We'll be right back after a short break. And I have returned. I hope you as well have returned. I even fucked up that sentence, but I kind of patched it up on the fly, so maybe you didn't notice and I didn't have to bring attention to it. The good news about having, 750 episodes of this Mindcast is that there is evidence that at one point I knew how to speak and I knew words and my brain actually operated in a functional manner. So we can rest our hat on that, I suppose, before we lie down on the eternal mat, as is how it goes. Oh, I can't help but try to rhyme sometimes. That's just who I am as a person. I'm an autodidactic polymath rhymer. So I'm not claiming that. Don't take that soundbite and say Singer thinks he's an autodidactic polymath rhymer. Don't go around town saying that. Singer thinks he's an autodidactic polymath rhymer, an AMSR guy. It almost got there. It almost actually lined up with AMSR, and I don't even know if it's AMSR or AMRS. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna make videos of me wearing lipstick. I'm not editing this. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a perfect speaker all the time. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to make videos of me. I've wanted to do this for years. I just want to, I love purple lipstick. I think it looks cool. I'm going to get some purple lipstick and I'm just going to do super close-up videos with a really good microphone of me eating crunchy cereals. Slurp, slurp, crunch, crunch. I'll buy a house in Sedona with all that money that I make from the AMSR Cap and Crunch peanut butter style. So let's get back to the report, Immaculate Constellation. So what we were talking about is this report that is been divulged. It's been disclosed now from a whistleblower, an unnamed whistleblower, has come forward. And this is a 214-page report that was part of the sworn testimony that has already been submitted, and even before they're talking and answering questions about that. These things get submitted beforehand, so members of Congress and their staff have time to look over and read, and these things, 214 pages. You think every congressperson read this whole report? I'm not so sure about that. I guarantee you Lauren Boebert did not, even though she did ask some questions. And then she's like, let's just get put on every list that the earth is flat, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, Jesus, we have to... These are the people that are representative government, so I guess it makes sense. So the report shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent unacknowledged special access program that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. I kind of gave you what my opinion on that is and what those might be. DOD spokesperson Sue Goff said, the DOD, this is a quote, the DOD has no record, present or historical, of any type of special access program called Immaculate Constellation. After publication, a source told me that the SAP, the Special Access Program, is controlled by the White House and executed and administered by the DOD to avoid compliance with Title 10 of the United States Code. It is essentially a DOD program, the person said, as the White House directed the SECDEF, Secretary of Defense, I'm guessing, to run it. But that's the loophole. So all these presidents who talk about, I'm going to give you disclosure, and we've got one coming in January who said that in 2016, and he said it again, that disclosure is going to be his thing. They're full of shit, if I could honestly give you my opinion on that. Every single one of them so far have chosen to not disclose. How much information did they have? Who knows, right? Obama didn't do it. Hillary said she was going to do it. She wouldn't have done it. Bernie Sanders may have been our only chance. The whistleblowers report includes 7 categories of evidence. It describes in detail various UAP sightings collected by technical assets and U.S. military personnel. Quote, the multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors. And this is, let me pause here. Okay. Sensors. The scientists, the materialists of this world. We're talking like Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch kind of crew, right? The Dr. Travis Taylors and, the Dr. Eric out there, like they love like sensors. Lakatsky and Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, they love talking about sensors. This is how you collect data. This is how you get information, right? Through all these different sensors. And yeah, whenever I go out on an investigation, I'm using various sensors, okay? But as a conversation next week, that I'm teasing this conversation with my buddy Dan Butler, again, talking about Bigfoot stuff, but it's what are you feeling? What is the energy? What is the sense you have there? What is, what is your skin doing? What is your mind telling you? What is your gut feeling? These are more important in many cases, I would argue. Now, when it comes to giving evidence to convince the rest of the world about a reality they've been living in for a long time, even though they've never really considered it or just assumed it wasn't true or have been told it wasn't true, they're not going to be like, well, your gut said it's true, so I guess I'm there with you, Steve. That's just not how it happens. There's a lot of guys named Steve who are in tune with their gut. I don't know if you know that, but gut health, big for Steves out there. I'm talking mental and physical health, gut health for Steves. Let's get back to the report. The multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors, the report says, have captured, this is exciting, give me some fucking excitement music. Give me some like build up, ramp out, ramp up, whatever. Maybe I'll get my keyboard out and try to add some tunage. Have captured UAP characteristics that are difficult or impossible to observe with the human eye alone. Subtle atmospheric effects associated with UAPs are also visible through the sensors employed by the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. End quote. It goes on to say, the verifiable chain of custody for UAP IMINT quality imagery intelligence collected by U.S. military assets, the person wrote, ensures a high level of confidence in the accuracy and integrity of the data gathered. The report concludes that, quote, the existence of Immaculate Constellation demonstrates the extant capability to detect, quarantine, and transfer UAP and RV reproduction vehicle collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security. Let's hit a fucking TV timeout right there, because now we're getting to the heart of the matter on this kind of stuff, right? Why aren't they telling us? Well, there's people in the government who are like not being told by other people in the government who aren't being told by other people in the government. So not only is Immaculate Constellation going out in there and retrieving and cleaning up these sites, these occurrences, these incidents before the public knows about them, at least widespread, they're doing it before the intelligence community on a whole for the government is understanding or becoming aware of them or has a chance to become aware of them. So this is a very insulated, unacknowledged special access program, it would seem. Now, I'm hoping we get information on how long has this been going on. How long? Sorry, let me get my best Anthony Kiedis voice. How long? I don't have it, actually. I've never had an Anthony Kiedis voice. Excuse me. I was remembering a future life. Now, cue that Red Hot Chili Peppers song. How long will I fly? And who knows whatever the other fucking words are. No one understands. I don't even think Anthony Kiedis himself understands what he's singing half the time. So, extant. Did you get stuck on that word? Did you get, this isn't like I don't want this podcast to be UFOs for dummies, but sometimes it certainly would feel like it is for me, right? Extant means it's in existence, it's existed, it still exists, right? Extinct would be the opposite. It's gone. Extant means it's still here, right? Okay, so the report concludes that the existence of Immaculate Constellation demonstrates the extant capability to detect, quarantine, and transfer UAP and RV collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security. A former IC official, Intelligence Committee, I'm guessing, or community, a former IC official confirmed to the public, the existence of Immaculate maybe it's Immaculate Constellation official, confirmed to public the existence of Immaculate Constellation. That, quote, that program is run out of SEC-DEF, the Office of the Secretary of Defense. The person said, they don't want to acknowledge it's real, end quote. Arrow is also housed within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, OUSD, INS. As such, the office that Congress created to investigate unreported UAP programs is troublingly close to the organizations running the alleged programs. We're going to come back. We got more of this. This is this tickling your disclosure bone? That disclosure bone sounds like I shouldn't be saying it into a microphone, or it sounds like a really good fucking punk band from like the 90s. Disclosure Bone opening performing at CBGB. We'll be right back. And we are back. And just as a reminder, maybe you're over at Patreon and we didn't really go anywhere. $3 a month gets you no commercials. Maybe I'll put this one up for free as well. I'm putting up the Dan Butler one with no commercials over at Patreon. You can be a free patron. You don't have to pay money. You can just, every once in a while, you get some ad-free apps. Go over there and sign up. We're at an all-time high, I think. So I'd love for you to join. If we can get to 200 over there, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll throw a milkshake party. I will mail out milkshakes. Can you mail milkshakes? I'll mail you milkshakes in dry ice. I'm making promises that I most assuredly cannot keep. But isn't that what being a human being is all about? Here we go. Let's pick this back up. We're talking about Immaculate Constellation, the unacknowledged special access program that is extant, meaning it is currently in existence. And this is what Shellenburger writes in his 214-page testimony. A source warned that simply printing the name Immaculate Constellation could trigger government surveillance of me under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, and whoever publishes it. Quote, they won't comment on it, but talking about it will put you in the danger zone, I was told. They enforce the secrecy with a lot of vigor. The whistleblower's report said that a significant volume of intelligence reports documenting first-hand encounters with unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UFOs, by DoD personnel exists within Defense Human Intelligence, HUMINT, human intelligence databases accessible to the intelligence community. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence, which is called IMINT, and measurement and signature intelligence, MASINT, of UAPs. The whistleblower's report adds the sources of this intelligence are a blend of directed and incidental collection capabilities positioned in low Earth orbit, LEO, the upper atmosphere, as well as military and civilian aviation altitudes and maritime environments. Wow. The report to Congress describes in detail various UAPs. The most common were spheres, orbs, discs, saucers, ovals, tic-tacs, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular or slash organic. Wow. There's incidents found in the human resources intelligence, right? Human intelligence databases in the intelligence community. One involved orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs. This is when they start talking about problems to national security and national defense. This is when these militaristic-minded people, and listen, I get it. We live in a country founded on, I don't want to say barbarism. We have a bloody past, and it's part of our DNA in this country. Our hands are covered in blood as we write these epic tales of individual freedom. We are writing them in the blood of other people, not so much, the ink from a squid. Is it squid or yeah, squids. So I'm sure we have synthetic oil now. Oh, my toe just got stuck on top of my other toe. That's a weird thing to say right now. Okay, so because we can get into humankind a little bit. I'm still reading that book. I'm trying not to read it too fast. I'm trying to soak it in as I read it, and I don't want it to be over because it is a hopeful human history. Now, as soon as human beings decided that the first person who decided that we could own land, that's when shit began. That's when the problems really started, and that's when wars began, and that's when like kings, leaders, and people who were victorious in battle started gaining favor, and stockpiling, and mostly trying to stockpile power. That's when women became became viewed as commodities in the proto-feministic way that hunter-gatherers were operating. Went to the wayside just because of the physicality of men, and the testosterone running through their veins made them typically better warriors, I suppose. So this is the world we're living in right now. At least in the Western world. We live in this quote-unquote civilized world so we can protect ourselves from our true animalistic and bloodthirsty natures, when in fact it's quite the opposite, that we were actually pretty chill dudes until we stopped, sat down, and stayed. And that's when shit hit the fan. We were seemingly pretty polyamorous back then. And it wasn't until, God, what's really disturbing is that you start to realize that it wasn't until the domestication of farm animals that STDs popped up. So every STD any of us have ever had originated from some dude sticking his dick into a pig or a sheep or a horse or whatever. I don't know history in such an in-depth way to be able to give you a 100% factual representation of it here, but what would you wager your money on if you had $17 and that was the last $17 you had, and someone said, wager that $17 and I'll give you $15,000 if you can tell me who was the first to fuck an animal, a man or a woman? Who boned the animal first, or who had sexual congress first out in the mud pit, in the barn? Do you think it was a man or a woman? Well, I think we know the answer to that. Clearly, it was a man. Clearly, it was a man who first fucked a sheep, or whatever. So, isn't that kind of disturbing to understand that? Obviously, that's not where we get STDs. Now we get them from each other, if we were unfortunate enough to get one. Most of them, are treatable. Thank God for science and medicine and vaccines. Okay, just, felt like we needed to say that every once in a while here on the show. I'm not afraid of science, even though I'm a paranormal nut job. Okay, I am so sidetracked suddenly, but that's just the nature of this thing. Who are you? I am the person who gets the train back on the track. Oh, you are? Yes, and I'm doing that now. Also, you're the conductor? I am the paranormal conductor. Okay, so are you? You're a train conductor. You're not an opera, not an opera, but like a symphony orchestra conductor. I conduct both, actually. They always have a symphony on every train. Oh, okay. So, okay. We're moving on from the conductor, because this is serious future-altering information here that has been disclosed to the American public, but no one really gives a shit to fucking take the time and read it, I suppose. People have lives. People need their trains put back on track. I don't. Okay, conductor, we don't need this right now, okay? A small orange-red sphere in another incident that was reported from a Navy aircraft carrier it was reported that the crew watched it rapidly descend from a high altitude to 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, which is an aircraft carrier. Quote, the UAPs appeared to emit a soft orange red light, which, bizarrely, did not illuminate the ocean or the flight deck of the CVN despite the visual appearance of intense luminosity. The surface of the UAP was observed to be dynamic, roiling like the surface of the sun. Okay. You know, I'm back, and I got to tell you, appreciate you being here, appreciate you listening. I actually edited out a very violent, loud sneeze that came over me, and I just felt like you should know that. That I do. God, it's one of my favorite things when I get to do that. I do some editing, some post-production work on the Mindcast from time to time. So what we're dealing with here is incredible, remarkable, in comparison to the history of what has been disclosed previously. We've got some remarkable disclosure happening here from more whistleblowers. Thank goodness for whistleblowers. I like all whistleblowers. Remember the person in the U.S. military who whistle blew and then became a war criminal? Wow. And I can't remember their name. What an asshole I am right now. What about Julian Assange? Whistleblower, WikiLeaks. No, it's a crime that they're committing. I love whistleblowers. Always have, always will. If I ever had a whistle to blow about something, I'd probably blow it. I mean, it's easy to say. When you've never had a whistle to blow, would you actually take the breath and blow it? Because, you put things at risk, I suppose. And are you a person of your word when you said you wouldn't talk about something? It's like a therapist where they're allowed to disclose when you commit crime. So this privacy thing, HIPAA or whatever, I don't think it applies or something. And again, I'm basing all of this off of a television or movies, so who knows if it's accurate or not. Government secrecy and disinformation is the next section. Okay, here we go. Let's just do it. The Pentagon has changed the names of its UAP investigations. From 2009 to 2017, the Pentagon had a program called Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications Program, AAWSAP, OSAP, to investigate UAP reports. OSAP reports ended in 2010, but ran through 2012, according to the DoD. From 2020 to 2022, the Pentagon called its study of UAPs the UAP Task Force. Starting in 2022, by order of Congress, the Pentagon has had the public-facing program AARO, AARO, to study reports of UAP and release information to the public. They even launched a website. The website is such garbage, and it's so useless. I don't even remember the name of it. I think I've gone to it sporadically over the last 6-8 months or 10 months or whatever it's been, because it's supposed to be this resource for the public, and maybe I'm speaking out of school because I haven't been there in quite a minute. And actually, I'm going to try to, on the fly, as we're having a one-sided conversation here, I'm going to see if it's still out there. And I would have definitely 100% bookmarked it on my bookmarks. Like, for example, let's go through my bookmarks here. Mind Alive Incorporated, Gansfeld ESP, that's my healthcare, that's my fantasy baseball, that's my bank, the Ryan Research Center, the Marriott, Film Hub, a masterclass bookmark. I did a couple masterclasses on documentary filmmaking. I think I probably told you about that. Cameras for UAP tracking and data collection. What's this one? Oh, UFODAP.com. There's no way that's it. Let's see here. The Stellarium Web Online Star Map. The DPJ Archive. That might be Dr. Greer's site. I'm pretty sure that might be, that's the Disclosure Project. UFO DAP, how to contribute to scientific UAP data collection. Build your own system. Oh, yes. This is some of the stuff that was used in Secrets at Skinwalker Ranch. The equipment is fucking expensive. But if you've got the cheddar, I say go, if you got the cheddar, I say go for it. So let's see here. That's a Global Consciousness Project. There's a Google group where people converse. I got a couple bookmarks on Ivan Sanderson, obviously, with a forefather of cryptozoology. I've got my Libby, my public library website app, a baseball card podcast. Arrow, home. Here it is. We found it. Golly, would you look at that? I have found it. So Arrow, AARO.MIL, short for military. Let's see, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Now, we have a new director, Dr. John Kozlowski, okay? I think it's Jeff Perkins, if I'm not mistaken, who is stepping down. Jeff Perkins. I shouldn't be saying the person's name without, confirming that into a microphone. Sorry about this. I'm doing another Google search here. Well, I'm doing a Brave search through DuckDuckGo because you know me. I use the Brave, browser, and I also use DuckDuckGo. Pentagon UFO boss stepped down, which, by all reports, within at least the witnesses at the hearing, it's Sean Kirkpatrick. Jeff Perkins. Why am I saying Jeff Perkins? I know Jeff Perkins. I'm ready to move on. I have accomplished everything I said I was going to do, Sean Kirkpatrick said. Now, Dr. Kirkpatrick is a disinformation agent, apparently, who I don't want to call him a disinformation agent, but let's just say this: he's stonewalled. He's been stonewalling this whole thing and has not been working in the best interests of the disclosure movement. These are me paraphrasing. This is me paraphrasing the words of like Lou Elizondo, who, I've been kind of like, I don't know which way to go on Lou Elizondo all this time, right? Because he's been a professional spook his whole life. So are you going to believe everything he says? But he seems genuinely interested in moving the disclosure movement forward. So who am I to, who am I to say he's not doing the big work? And he's doing the heavy lifting, it seems like. And other people like Admiral Daludet, that doesn't seem to be a big fan. Everybody, Shellenburger, and I think Dr. Gold, also from NASA, they didn't seem to be big fans of Sean Kirkpatrick, who pretty much had said that there was no evidence that the UAP things need to be taken seriously. And that was the guy in charge of the front public-facing group at the Pentagon called AARO, A-A-R-O, which he is stepping down, and Kozlowski is apparently on board So, and now you can go to the website aaro.mil, and you can they actually have a link to the National Archives UAP, records related to unidentified anomalous phenomena at the National Archives. Oh, now my computer has frozen. I'm getting too close to the truth, man. Too close to the truth. What is the truth? That I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I'm starving Marvin? I think that's probably the truth. Okay, so, okay. Still picture and photographs, UAP-related records. They even got them. Okay, so it's not totally useless. Actually, I stand corrected. First of all, I love that I can stand, and second of all, I love to be corrected, because that means I learned something. Presidential Library UAP-related records, National Archives, textual records, and microfilm. Boom. Okay, we got some action over here. Now, do you have the time or the bandwidth to go be through in all this? Do you have the time, the bandwidth to go be through in all this? Then come on over to we work big stuff here. We work big stuff here.org. We work big stuff here.org. So, okay. I'll get back on track. We're going to get back on track here. The big takeaway is the Immaculate Constellation. I still want to call it collection. The Immaculate Constellation disclosure, right? We have NBEs, non-biological entities. We have NHI, non-human intelligence. There is speculation asked by Congress, because you can't get an answer yes or no about whether the UFOs themselves are alive, that's an exciting aspect of the disclosure. Are we going to be coming to understand that the UFO themselves are, dare I say, organic, or even if they're not organic, let's say they're multidimensional, are they conscious? Do they have sentience, right? As we like to think, that we're the smartest people on the planet, when in fact we're not even close. But again, we digress. Do you think, a sheep never tried to have sex with a human being? I mean, that is, and again, I'm speaking above my pay grade here, or below my pay grade, one might argue. But I would argue a horse, a sheep, a pig. I mean, there's a reason pig fucker is an insult, right? I know for a fact, or dog, or whatever, right? They have never tried to have sex with a human being. Now, some people might be saying, well, my cat, actually, no, your cat puts its ass in your face as a show of dominance, not as a sexual flirtation. I'm guessing, by the way, on that last fact. But is it a fact if I'm guessing? What did I watch last night? Oh, I finally watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and An Educated Wish. I thought was a fun phrase in that. But I wanted to, okay, let's put a bow on this. Okay, let's get out of here and let's put a bow on it. And by get out of here, I don't mean we don't go. We stay in this paranormal space forever. But one of the interesting quotes that I heard from, some of these Congress people are truly interested. Some of them just want more funding for their war programs and their military contractors, and et cetera, et cetera. Mike Turner, the congressman from Dayton, Ohio district, it's just stonewalling disclosure. I'm over it. I can't believe this guy keeps getting elected. He's never been worthy of public service, in my opinion, in the Dayton, Ohio, in the Ohio area. Not a fan of this guy whatsoever. 0% of me would drink a beer with him at the local BW3s when I'm back there over the holidays. But hey, Mike, if you're there and you want to have a beer at the BW3s and you want to answer why you're stonewalling disclosure, or doing your best to do it, I'd be happy to hear you out. And I would also repeat everything you told me on the podcast, because I don't believe in gatekeeping UFO and disclosure information like some of these people do. But now, which is a little bit different than when, like, if private citizens are giving me information they don't want me to share, I'm not going to share that. That's just called being a nice person and agreeing to the the social contract of being a person, not being a jerk. But yeah. So, but one of I'm getting sidetracked by my own diatribes, feeling self-righteous. Let me stand down off these apple crates and stop giving you my sermon. And I do want to tell you, what was it? I don't have my notebook at arm's length, but it was one of the congresspersons said, we don't want to be on the wrong end of technical surprise. Talking about crash retrieval, reverse engineering technology, using it for military, using it for weapons, because that's all these fucking guys think about, dude. Not just guys, some of these gals too. That's all they think about. How can we reverse engineer this? And how can we have the biggest gun? How can we have the coolest gun? Well, we need to have the coolest gun because you're being a little naive. Because if you don't think China's trying to have the biggest gun, you're an idiot. Oh, and so then everybody in China is like, if you don't think that America's not trying to have the biggest gun, you're a naive idiot, right? It's just self-fulfilling prophecy of these idiots who have their little like club forts. You have to know the secret passwords that are embedded into like ID cards so you can see the alien body. And it's in a tube 17 stories underground at Wright-Patt Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, Hangar B. I don't know where these things are, but I know they're in Dayton. When I'm in Dayton, Ohio over the holidays, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And I literally mean I'm going to get to the bottom of it, okay? Okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. The wheels of disclosure churn slowly. We are making a little bit of progress. There are still lots of reasonable people out there who act like this isn't real. And that is only because they haven't spent 90 seconds looking into it. If you spent 45 seconds looking into this topic, you would understand that UFOs are very real, and they have been, and it's been acknowledged for quite some time. It's been acknowledged the day after Roswell happened, and then that article was pulled. It's been acknowledged from the beginning of the modern UFO era. Now, John Keel in Operation Trojan Horse will lay out for you that this is not a new phenomena by any stretch of the imagination that started with Roswell. It goes back into the 19th century. It goes back, many would argue, thousands of years, depicted in hieroglyphics in Egypt. Some of that stuff that's outside my purview of, reading about and knowing, and as I said in my autodidactic polymathery rhyming scheme. So we're not going to get into that. But yeah, disclosure is here. It should be the number one issue outside of, human rights and climate change. It should be top 3 on any political candidate's platform, in my opinion. But human rights, the environment, disclosure. What else do you really need? And for me, what falls under human rights? We're talking about the wage gap. We're talking about racial inequality. We're talking about the bias in the judicial system. We're talking about state-funded genocide that is funded by multiple world governments simultaneously and is extant, meaning it exists now, currently, as I'm speaking into this microphone. It will make you go to a fucking dark place if you do nothing but dwell only on that fact. But that is our reality right now. So, human rights, climate change, the environment, let's just say human rights, the environment, and disclosure. And disclosure of all things. Disclosure that physical death is not real, and it falls under that for me. And disclosure about cryptids, Bigfoot, etc., and the interdimensional nature of travel of beings, etc., which I think will be spillover. I think Bigfoot's going to be some spillover from this UFO disclosure. It's going to happen because of the interdimensional nature, the flaps, the portals, etc. We're going to get there, and we're pushing ahead. And hey, let's try to be kind to each other along the way. Maybe every once in a while I'll have a chicken wing or a vegan wing or a donut or a dairy-free, coffee creamer and smile and try to give a stranger a smile. I'm not telling you to smile. Okay, I'm saying, I like to do that. But, that's just me. Okay, I love you. I hope you love yourself. We're going to talk soon. I got some great interviews coming your way. My buddy Dan Butler, who I met 5 years ago at the Florida location. 5 years in the making, this interview. How was it taking so long? Because I'm an idiot. That's how. I can't wait to share that with you. I hope to see you at a live show around Los Angeles or over the holidays. If not, I'll see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.